Hey fellas, JROE here. It's Thursday. Going to build with y'all about how racism affects me as a black trans man. I believe in order for me to even begin to talk to you about my experience of racism, I have to really define what I believe racism is. And so, racism actually is a social construct. Um, One of the things that I think about, it's the biggest invisible. It's not talked about. We don't have access to these conversations. One, because maybe our parents wanted to save us from that pain. It's good enough just to experience, not talk about it. Or two, not being able to um, really articulate clearly our personal experience of oppression and naming exactly what it is. And so when I think about racism, I think of it as a social construct. Um, Racism is power plus privilege. And I learned this through the People's Institute. Um, I do youth work, so I talk a lot about racism. I talk a lot about diversity because I believe once we are able to name it, we're able to connect that to our personal experience. We're able to understand why we're angry, why these things happen. We're able to take our own power and change it. And so, race, a lot of times people get confused that race is like ethnicity. And so when I begin to talk to my young people, I'll say, "What is race? What is your race? What is your ethnicity?" And sometimes when we go around a circle, they'll get it confused. Like they'll say their ethnicity is black and their race is African American, and that's a swap. Um, for me, my ethnicity is African American. My family has been here every generation since slavery. My race is black. And so how do we define race in our experience of race now that we understand that it's a social construct, that it's the big invisible? How does this big invisible affect our lives? Well, racism was created to maintain power. When we think about our experience, or when I think about my experience of race, I have to look back to history. I even have to look back beyond the history of the United States, because the United States actually adopted similar laws and values to Europe. So you have to go back to European history, and you have to look at the culture of Europe, and you have to look at how they began to integrate race into their lives, which actually was applied within not just their social constructs, but legal laws. And that's what's really important. Legal laws, the institution of race, and how it's applied in institutions in Europe, and move that to the United States, and add the element of being a black person stolen from their origin and being brought to a foreign land, and being used to create wealth for white people. And so you look at that wealth, and you look at the slave, and you look at the narrative of the slave through generations, and you look at the narrative of that white person for generations to today. And so now, when I think about today, I think about, as a black man, and looking at institutionalized racism and who benefit from racism and what that means. Because we often look at racism and we say, because there's so many elements to it, we say, well, I can be racist. No, you can't. As a black person, you can't be racist. You can discriminate. You could prejudge. You could prejudice. But race, what makes it really important is power. The element of control. Being able to control information. Being able to control how we define others. Access to information, power. Money, wealth, power. How does this affect me as a black man today? Well, the institutions that still use these racist practices, it affects my life. These institutions are healthcare, education, housing, government. I mean, these are the institutions that racism is embedded. What does that mean? So it goes back to running a race. It's like I have to work harder. I have to think smarter. I have to be stronger. I have to know more in order to navigate. But I still, no matter how much money I have, I still have this black skin. So it, until we are able to see that and change that, racism exists. And this is how I believe it applies in my life. So I hope y'all are well. Sorry about the rough, it's been, kind of crazy. Me and my dog chilling. But can't wait to build with y'all next Thursday. Y'all take care. One.